On behalf of Festival co-directors Namita Gokhale, William Dalrymple, and all my colleagues at Teamwork Arts, welcome back to JLF's Brave New World. In these difficult times where fear and hatred dominate the world, and villages, cities, and countries have shut down their borders, it is imperative to allow the free flow of knowledge and scientific information. It is with this intent that JLF's Brave New World was born 11 weeks ago and has since been viewed over 1 million times. Today, we're honored to present the Seed of Compassion with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in conversation with Pico Iyer. His Holiness speaks of finding love and peace in our confused, divided, and chaotic world, and of the universal value of compassion in these troubled times. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama describes himself as a simple Buddhist monk. He is the spiritual leader of Tibet. His Holiness is a man of peace, and in 1989 he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his non-violent struggle for the liberation of Tibet. He has consistently advocated policies of non-violence, even in the face of extreme aggression. Pico Iyer is the author of more than a dozen books translated into 23 languages. His latest work is a new book on Japan titled Autumn Light, followed by a beginner's guide to Japan, and This Could Be Home, set to be published shortly.
Good.
Please do remember to comment and ask questions by typing it in the comment section. And in case any of you drop off due to bandwidth issues, you can find us on your YouTube channel, Jaipur Litfest JLF, or of course, on His Holiness's channel. Ladies and gentlemen, the Seed of Compassion, His Holiness the Dalai Lama in conversation with Pico Iyer.
Your Holiness, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. How have you been these last few months? Has your health been good?
Oh, yeah. I think you should check my face.
You look very healthy.
Oh, very healthy. And my voice quite strong.
Yes. Yes.
All this, I believe, because of India's, how say, the tradition, Karuna and Ahimsa. So these 1,000-year-old India's tradition really, you see, it gives me self-confidence and inner strength. As if, so result of practice of, or say, the Karuna. Wherever I go, I always say, feel we are same human being. Now scientists also say, we human being, social animal. Any social animal, by nature, there is a sense of concern of the community. So we human being, social animal. So from birth, you see, immediately, you see, feeling, that's a closeness feeling with the surrounding people. So now today, in ancient time, of course, community, limited community, its own villages or few neighbors like that. Now today, the reality, the global economy, no national boundary. Whole world, east, west, south, north, whole world is actually one community. Then now, particularly now today, you see, we also, you see, facing global warming. So, time come, we have to think about 7 billion human beings as a human community. So I practice this and also share more people. So I always wherever I go, I always feel we are same brothers, sisters, like that. So it is very, very useful. It is karuna and ahimsa.
So the last 4 months, you've mostly been alone, I think. How do you develop and practice karuna and ahimsa? Are there specific practices that others of us could try to develop that?
Kasa. Inji. Now, recent month, now because of the illness, some kind of
Pandemic. Pandemic.
academic,
Pandemic.
no. So this problem. So I, the concerned people, asked me I should not meet people except this like television. So I have holiday and my daily prayer at least 4 hours meditation. As soon as I wake up, I meditate karuna. And then ahimsa, I think very close link about ahimsa is the ubaya side karuna, wisdom side, the concept of patit samupad, or the technical the word shunyata. There is no independent self. So anger, jealousy, all these very much based on strong feeling of I, self. So the concept selflessness, that reduce the very basis of destructive emotion. Now, according to quantum physics also, now there is big differences, appearance and reality. Appearance, everything, independently exists there. The reality, if we go deeper, then it is not like appears. Deeper level, something different. So most destructive emotion, based on appearances. So the deeper level, shunyata, nothing independently exists. Nothing exists as appears. That understanding reduces the basis of all negative emotion. Negative emotion, on the basis of appearances, good thing there independently, bad thing there independently. With that feeling, then anger, attachment, these things happen. So there's Buddhist philosophy very clearly mentioned. And now my Indian friend, late Kasa, Rajaramana. So he once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, 2,500 years ago, already developed. It is very true. So, quantum physics theory and the Nagarjuna's sort of theory, quite similar. I practice that daily, very seriously. As soon as I wake up, I just think, where is I? Where is self? You can't find. So feeling of self, that at the basis of anger, or attachment, fear. So that feeling reduce, all these negative emotion automatically reduce. The positive emotion, such as karuna, these are based on reason, not on the basis of appearance, but deeper level. So therefore, it is quite, how to say, it is, I don't know, it is good, you see, all negative emotion based on appearances, which is not true. All karuna, or like all these positive emotion, not based on that. So you see, through reasoning, you can increase karuna. So India, 3,000 years already concept of karuna, and for that, shamatha, vipassana, you see, method training our mind already developed in this country. So these very, very useful for me, very useful. When wake up morning, I just start thinking, where is self? Where is I? Where is Dalai Lama? No. Millions are also designated. Otherwise, nothing. Pinpoint. Besides just body, mind, where is I? Where is self? That is Buddhist concept of anathema theory. Anathema, selflessness, like that. So these are very useful in order to tackle our emotion. So emotion is the actually destroyer of peace of mind, and eventually destroy your own physical health. So I have some special medicine in order to keep healthy body through healthy mind with this philosophy. And plus, each night, 9 hours sleep. One time in East India, I think 3-4 years ago, when I was there, one Indian politician also there, one politician, BJP politician there. So within a few days, we become a very close friend. So then one morning, when we met, he asked me about my rest or sleep. And I told him, no problem. I always 9 hours sleep, then 4 hours meditation. Through that way, sharpening my mind, so I can easily cheating other people. Then his sort of immediate sort of response, very nice. He only 6 hours sleep. He cannot cheat other people. So sleep also important, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think quite deep sleep, so not much dreaming. Short period, some dream. This morning, so about, I usually used to get up 3:30 morning. And about 3, just short sleep, some dream, say some some deities, some kind of blessing here, Om, Ah, Hum, like that. So it is good. It is good. whether you see these are they realistically effect or not, mentally, emotionally, very helpful. So all these knowledge come from India. So these days, I emphasize India should revive 1,000-year-old India's tradition about mind, about the inner world, the modern education. You see, much sort of oriented about material value and including physical. The existing modern education never mentioned about our mind or about our emotion and how to tackle these destructive emotion. So now India, I think India is the only nation who can combine ancient Indian knowledge about the inner world, about emotion, and combined with modern education. Then I think India really can help humanity besides material development and proper development of inner world. So real world peace must sort of develop inner peace. With anger, with jealousy, with too much sort of self-centered sort of attitude, peace, not very difficult to achieve. Now today we can see. So therefore, the India's tradition, I think, have a great potential to make contribution for world to develop peaceful, compassionate world.
Now, I know Your Holiness is very concerned with education, and you speak about educating the heart for young children. That's something different from training the mind, is it? What exactly is educating the heart?
They see warm-heartedness not through prayer, not through just belief, no. Fully utilize human intelligence. So we want healthy body, happy person, and including also healthy sleep. So in these related with our mind, our emotion. So more detailed sort of knowledge about mind. Usually people, when we say consciousness or mind, only sensorial consciousness. Now the anger, attachment, fear, these come from sixth mind, chit. So in order to tackle these things, you should study more about the whole system of chit. Mind, main mind. So the way to, I'll say, training or way to deal with mind, only human wisdom. Analyze, thinking, analyze. What kind of a mind or emotion is useful? What kind of emotion harmful? Make clear. Then all positive emotion, negative emotion, you see, based on its own causes. So in order to deal these different emotion, we have to think deeper level, what are the causes of anger? What are the causes of compassion? Then think more seriously about the deeper level of causes of these emotion. Then try to make effort, positive the sources of positive emotion increase. The sources of destructive emotion with knowledge then can reduce. So the human brain, very important, not just pray or close eye, not much thinking, not that way. Fully utilize human intelligence and combine with our own experiences. And through that way, we can change our emotion gradually. Positive emotion increase, destructive emotion can reduce. So that's my main practice. So all these come from India's knowledge. So now, as I mentioned earlier, India, I feel a great potential to make a contribution, the healthy mind through education. Western civilization completely lacking, and other major religious tradition wonderful, but mainly based on faith. India's tradition, and particularly I think India's concept secular, are not based on religious faith, but utilize human intelligence. Now that I feel great potential through education, to train humanity. So now, you may already know, I have 4 commitments. Number 1 commitment, I am human being. I am one of the 7 billion human beings. As I mentioned earlier, human being, because social animal, basic nature is compassion. Therefore, without touching religion, simply scientific sort of research and try to promote warm-heartedness. This is my number 1 commitment. Number 2 commitment, religious harmony. It is unthinkable. Conflict, killing in the name of religion, unthinkable. All religion, inspired in different philosophy, all teach us loving kindness, forgiveness, tolerance. So, religious harmony, very important. It is very possible. Look, India, over 1,000 years, you see different religious tradition there. At the intellectual level, scholar level, there's sometimes debate, but almost none physical action. So now here in India, all major world religious tradition live together. So India is the example. Religious harmony is possible. Beside India's homegrown religion, from outside, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, then Judaism and Islam, all these come from outside but settle here very well. No problem. So India, most populated 2 nations, one China, one India. So now India, most populated democratic country, religious harmony over 1,000 years there. So it is possible. So I try to promote religious harmony. Then my 3rd commitment is about Tibet. I'm Tibetan, so Tibetan people trust me. So I have moral responsibility. However, the political matter, about 2001, I already retired political matter. We here, a small refugee community, Tibetan refugee community, we develop democratic system, democratic practice. So we already have elected political leadership. You see, he carry the political matter. I already retired, and not only myself retired, but in future, in case Dalai Lama institution still remain, then Dalai Lama in future, no political sort of responsibility. So I always is fond to say Buddhist monk, like that. So now regarding Tibet, number one, Tibetan ecology. Tibet, usually the people call roof of the world. It is true. All major rivers, you see, come from Tibet, in Sindh, Pakistan, and then Ganga, then Brahmaputra, and then Mekong River, then a Yellow River, all come from Tibet. So these rivers cover whole Asia. Of course, Japan, these are something different. Otherwise, China, Yellow River, Vietnam, Mekong River, like that. So, taking care about ecology in Tibet, I feel very important. And we must pay more attention to preserve these rivers. Now, within my lifetime, you see, the snowfall, decade by decade, much reduced. Even Dharamsala, also here, when 1960 I came here, you see, that winter, lot of snow. Then each year, less and less and less. So now, global warming is because of global warming. Global warming is a very serious matter. So I often, you see, express preserve ecology in Tibet. And then most important is Tibetan knowledge. 8th century, Chandrarakshita invited by Tibetan emperor. Since I think 7th century, Tibet already paying more attention about Buddha Dharma. Then 8th century, the Tibetan emperor Trizong Teze, he realized study is important. Therefore, in Buddhist tradition, in Buddhist tradition, the Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition, and he developed interest about Sanskrit tradition. That's Nalanda. So he invited at that time the top master of Nalanda institution. That's Chandrarakshita. He himself, great logician, great philosopher. He introduced Buddhism according Nalanda tradition. So we Tibetan, you see, follow his advice sincerely over 1,000 years till today. So I think I may say, you see, the Nalanda tradition, very sophisticated, logical philosophy like that. And with that, Tibetan sharp mind, very good. So we kept all these Nalanda tradition. You see, we not just read, you see, a few occasions. No, the root text memorize, learn by heart. Myself, 7 year old, already started memorizing these root texts. Then each word explained according commentary wrote by Nalanda master, and of course Tibetan masters commentary also there. We study. Then the important is we utilize debate or logical approach, debate. So, according to that tradition, as I think Buddha himself advised us, oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation. The Buddha himself, expressed to us. So Nalanda master exactly followed that. So even one Buddha's own sort of word, we raise question, why? Investigate. We never say, oh, since this is Buddha said, we must be true. No. So we utilize human intelligence maximum way. That's through debate like that. So I train through that way. And correct. So I think I can say there are many Buddhist countries in Asia, but Buddhist tradition with logical approach, I think available only Tibetan tradition. And in ancient time, in the past, Mongolia, but Mongolia, I say, a lot of difficulties. Then we only Tibetan, we kept all these tradition, Nalanda tradition. So now I realize, meeting with people, with Buddhist brothers, sisters, the Nalanda tradition is very, very useful. In Chinese, historically, follower of Nalanda, like Tangsen, come to Nalanda, study, Shenzang. But you see, in Chinese Buddhist tradition, they prefer more meditation, not study. So they like, important logical text, a text of logic, the Dignak's text. Then, or Dharmakirti is in their text, not translated in Chinese language. We Tibetan, all these, translated into Tibetan, and one Tibetan master himself, wrote logical, he wrote a book about logic. So now, Tibetan tradition, fully utilize logical approach. So therefore, our mind never blind faith, investigation. So after I came to India, then gradually we develop discussion or meeting with scientists. So with scientists, about 4, subjects, cosmology, neurobiology, and then psychology, then physics. Then physics. So since our tradition, logical approach, always investigate, reason, so we can, as a common method, scientists also always investigate. So now, as a result, our meeting with modern scientists it became very clear, mutual learning, very good. Number of scientists now really, you see, appreciate our logical approach, our way of thinking, like that. So recently, one occasion in Japan, so one meeting with Japanese Buddhists, I told them, it's a meditation, very important, but a study and a logical approach, very important. So I express, I hope, and some of these Japanese Buddhist monastery now should use as a sort of classroom, study, I told. So that I feel we Tibetan kept all this knowledge. There is real potential. We can make certain significant contribution for humanity's mind, emotion. So my main regarding Tibet, I try to preserve this knowledge. And then sometimes I jokingly telling, ancient time, you Indian, our guru, we are Chela. In modern time, opposite. Ancient our guru now become Chela. Ancient Chela, we Tibetan, now looks become guru. So now I really enjoy become refugee, stay in India. Traditionally, we consider India is Arya Bhumi, land of secret or something. Tibetan. Of course, there are some Muslims also, but mainly Buddhist. So they once a lifetime, because of what once a life, you see, visit Bodh Gaya, like Muslim Mecca. So every Tibetan is always feel once pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya, they feel now fulfill their life. So now we become refugee. So every year can go Bodh Gaya. So, and then most important is India's freedom. I love Chinese culture and many Chinese Buddhists, wonderful. But the system, political system, no freedom of speech. In this country, freedom. So I utilize India's freedom. As a refugee, in a way, unfortunate, in a way, much better opportunity to share over 1,000 years, which we kept all the Nalanda tradition, Indian tradition. So I myself, if I gather with top scholars, then my knowledge very limited. But among the ignorant people, my knowledge quite good. So I can utilize about my limited knowledge. And my advantage is I can speak Buddhist philosophy combination with modern science, like that. So in bigger Tibetan monastic institution, which we re-establish in South India, now in their class, one subject, science, also we introduce. So in one big monastery in South India, you see, they they created their own sort of the science research class, or like that. So we, I feel very, very fortunate. We stay in this country, utilize fully India's freedom, and then on top of that, I feel great honor. I'm longest guest of Indian government.
Now, the last time I saw Your Holiness in Japan, November 2018, you said you thought the world was going through an emotional crisis, that
Right.
maybe people not so logical, not thinking about interconnectedness. Are you worried that the world is more divided now?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we really need the sense of oneness of all 7 billion human beings. We too much divided our nation, their nation. That is secondary level. And ancient thinking, past thinking, my nation. Now today, I think the time is gone. Is there too much emphasis, my nation, or my religion? Now must think about the humanity, we human being on this planet. So therefore, now a lot of problem we very much sort of based on the on the level of small nation, small country. And actually, concept of war very much related with feudal system. In the past, feudal system, king, queen, or sometimes even religious leader, their own sort of much thinking, much concern about their own power. So then very much sort of strong concept of we and they, then conflict, killing. So I feel the warfare, killing is related with feudal system. So that gone. Now democratic country, democratic world. I think, for example, each soldier, if you ask, do you really willing to sacrifice your own life for the nation, or you prefer peace? I think individual soldier may say they want peace, but under order, so they with weapon they have to go sacrifice their own life, not voluntarily, but under order. That's a feudal system, like that. So now, through education, we really can develop peaceful world and utilize human intelligence world, as I mentioned earlier, economy on these things, the no national boundary, think humanity, then each community get a maximum benefit. Like that. So that's my commitment. One way, I'm refugee, stateless. One way, I belong humanity. And then, as I mentioned earlier, longest guest of Indian government. So I'm very happy. with religious freedom, so we can meet, and we can discuss everything. Okay. So now you, as my long-time friend, please keep your mind my 4 commitment. Number one commitment, a promotion of basic human value. Number 1. on the basis of sense of oneness of humanity, one world, one humanity. Number two, religious harmony. Number three, preservation of Tibetan ancient knowledge, which come from India. Then fourth, my commitment is I'm trying to revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So modern India, the education, modern education introduced by Britisher, they do not know about value of ancient Indian knowledge. Then I think Mahatma Gandhi ji, I think more concerned about non-violence. So it seems to me not pay much attention about deeper Indian psychology on these things. Then Pandit Nehru, more westernized. So when India got independence, I think India should think seriously the education system. Besides modern education, ancient Indian knowledge, secular way, as a the academic subject, not religious subject, I think should introduce in Indian education field. Now, I still feel not too late. It is possible to combine ancient Indian knowledge about inner world and modern education combined. Then India, already now peaceful nation, South India, West India, North India, East India, Central India, different language, different script, but very peaceful. And all happily remain big India's union. So now, with that, in education field, should include some ancient Indian knowledge, mainly ahimsa, karuna, secular way in education field. I think India can combine these two things. Now, not too late. So that's my fourth commitment. So please keep in your mind.
I think your Holiness is an optimist. You feel you'll soon be 85 years old. Do you feel that the world is better than when you were a child? That it's improving?
I think improving. I always feel the spirit of European Union, First World War, Second World War, like German and French, there are a lot of killing, each as in their enemy. After Second World War, and then de Gaulle and Adenauer, they feel now killing each other, now enough, now better to think some union. So they develop European Union. The French and Germany, I think historically the arch enemy. They develop the main sort of idea of European Union. So as a sort of result of European Union, last few decades, no longer any killing among the member states. So that's, I think, beginning of in 20th century, I think the early part of 20th century, unthinkable. Now, later part of 20th century, European Union developed. I think wonderful. And sometimes I just express the NATO headquarters should shift to Moscow. Then the millions of Russian mind or Western NATO is something negative force. So eventually, I think in the European Union, Russia should include. Now, English, they feel some different sort of ideas. I think they too much sort of emphasis the few centuries is in the British Empire. Now today, British England, a small island. I think, of course, that is up to Britisher. I have no right to say, but I prefer should remain in the European Union, and then further extend eventually Eastern European countries. Then Russia also should be part of that union. I feel. Then that spirit, union, I think Africa should develop union, and Latin America a union. Then gradually, like a United Nations, now should expand. You see, all different nations really because represented there and equal. I think really worthwhile the veto power, undemocratic. So the purely democratic sort of spirit. Now today, United Nations, I think wonderful. Wherever the poor human beings, difficulties or starvations, like the recent Burma's, the one community. United Nations really pay much attention. Then Yemen. Mm-hmm. So, at present, the United Nations the Secretary General, leader, also very good now, thinking, really, you see, seriously, all these poor people. And then, of course, one thing, the huge gap, rich and poor. That is also, millions of people, poor people, really facing, some cases, starvation. Really unthinkable. So according to the sense of oneness of a human being, the gap, rich and poor, must reduce. Like that. So like that.
So the most unrealistic thing is isolation. That doesn't make sense. Isolation is a big problem.
Isolation.
Oh, yes. We really need a sense of oneness of human being. Otherwise, we say, my nation, my religion, their religion. That is the source of problem. Immediately, economically, also, you see, this creates problem. Then, a more serious way, fighting. Now, in our neighbor in this Kasadi, Syria, in this area, Shia, Sunni killing each other. Unthinkable. I never heard problem among Indian Shia and Sunni. I never heard a problem. Because India's religious harmony. And the same Muslim country, now Shia country, like Iran or Saudi Arabia, and these Shia and Sunni also now source of problem, even fighting. Very sad, very sad. So, in such thing, India can make great contribution and eventually demilitarize the world in order to increase India's concept of ahimsa. Then world eventually can be demilitarized.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom. We will remember your 4 commitments And I'm glad that India will sustain the Nalanda tradition and Tibet has brought it back to India. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Your Holiness, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pico, for that absolutely brilliant conversation and all your blessings and all your advice for world peace. We hope that comes through. Thank you all for watching and being such a great audience. We would like to thank all of you and hope you'll come back at 9 p.m. for our next session, Lessons from History, Neil Ferguson and Maya Jasanoff in conversation. The session with His Holiness that we've done right now will be available online on Facebook, JLF Lit Fest, and on YouTube, Jaipur Lit Fest JLF. We'd also like to thank our radio partners, Red FM, Bajate Raho. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay peaceful.
Thank you.